Hi, everyone. We're going to give everybody just a minute or two, or not a minute, just a couple of minutes, a couple of moments to get settled in as they log in. All right. Well, thank you for joining today's webinar on how public pensions can transform participant engagement through digital access. My name is Hank Kim, and I'm the Executive Director and Counsel for NCPERS. And as you may also be able to see, I am also the embodiment of that cautionary tale, why 53-year-olds should not be playing contact sport after a certain age. I'm a little banged up, but more than well enough to talk about one of my passions, which is digital access. Today's program is part of NCPERS Center for Online Learning, which provides continuing remote education to public pension trustees, staff, and other fiduciaries and stakeholders. So here's the premise of our conversation today. Americans clearly have a growing desire to access their finances on a mobile platform. Unfortunately, public plans have been slow to adopt mobile access. According to the 2021 NCPERS Public Retirement System Study, the annual survey of our membership, 71% of respondents said that they provide financial information on the website. However, only 7% provided information through a mobile app. Obviously, public plans are way behind the curve in terms of adopting this new technology platform. And our peers, and to a certain extent, our competitors, are more than a decade ahead of us. And in the context of technology and specifically mobile app or digital access, our competitors or peers are not necessarily other public sector pension plans in the state that's bordering you, or in a different county, or in your neighboring jurisdiction. Our peers are, in fact, other financial institutions, like your bank, like your defined contribution record keeper, and your credit card company, who have been on a mobile platform almost since the introduction of the iPhone by Apple in 2007. Which is at this point 15 years ago. Change is happening, and in the realm of technology, the velocity of that change is accelerating, and regrettably, public plans are once again behind the technology curve. And we want to talk about this and see how we can make this change as we are clearly well into the second decade of the 21st century. So we have a great panel set up for us today. We have conversations with Ron Brown and Scott Hood, two administrators of plans that are at different stages of implementation of digital access, as well as with Sandeep Mehta, CTO of Digital Deployment, which is our technology partner, to help us guide us over this next hour. We do encourage audience participation. So please use the Q&A function on this platform, and we will hold your questions and comments till the end and share them with our panelists and have them respond at that time. So let's get right to it. We'll start alphabetically. Ron Baker, please introduce yourself and your organization.
Well, thank you, Hank. I was going to say that only my parents call me Ron Brown, and I usually go by Ron Baker, but you got her on the second one, so we're all good there. My name is Ron Baker. I'm the Executive Director of Colorado Para. Colorado Para serves the state workforce, all K through 12 in Colorado, the rogue judges, and certain members of local government. So we are across the state of Colorado, a plan that serves about 650,000 members.
Ron, I will blame the painkillers for that one.
Not a problem. I think you only put that sling on not to wear a jacket. That's what I assumed you were doing. I thought of that before the thing started.
Thank you for understanding. Scott?
Thanks, Hank. I'm Scott Hood with the San Mateo County Employees Retirement Association. And for those of you that don't know, San Mateo County is that county just south of San Francisco. I've been with Samsara for a little over 21 years, and for the last 8 years, almost 8 years, I've been the Chief Executive Officer. We've got a lean staff of 23 full-time employees, and we're a defined benefit plan only with just under $6 billion in assets. And I'm happy to report our funded status just crossed the 90% level for the first time in 21 years. We've got a little over 13,000 active, deferred, and retired members, and we're considered mature as we just crossed that point last year where we have more retirees than active members. And our retiree payroll just crossed the 20 million a month threshold as well.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for that background and welcome. Last but not least, Sandeep, can you talk about yourself and your organization, please?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Sandeep Mehta. I'm the CTO at Digital Deployment, and we work with a number of public pension systems across the country, helping build web applications, mobile applications, and delivering high quality solutions to your members. So looking forward to this discussion. Great,
thank you, Sandeep. So Scott, since you're somewhat the furthest along, tell us, how did Samsara begin its journey towards digital access? Specifically, was there like an aha moment, or was it more of a gradual, realization towards this platform?
Well, for us, it was kind of gradual until we hit the aha moment. So we started way back about 2014. We were looking at kind of upgrading our pension system. So we started doing that. But in the middle of that process, we came across digital deployment. We were doing our own website in-house, and Digital, being from Sacramento, had done a number of California retirement systems websites, and we looked at what they looked like and said, hey, we could stand to have an improvement like that. So we partnered up with them, and they did our website in 2015. So when we rolled out our line of business, we included a pension app and a portal for our members, because up until then, our members had no access. They had to come through us, through appointments or calling us on the phone. So that's how we essentially got started in the business. So we've had an app, but we, through conversations with Digital, we were really impressed with what they do with our website. They said, after studying and conversing with us, they said, we could probably do a better interface and maybe make it a little bit more intuitive. So we said, okay, after some ongoing conversations, they said, well, let's see if we can do a kind of a proof of concept. And they did. And that's when we had an aha moment. They showed us what they could do. And it had the same look and feel of our website, a little bit more user intuitive. So we said, let's do this. So they began a project of doing our website and then subsequently our portal.
Great. Yeah. And we're going to absolutely explore that a little bit further in our conversation. But let me go to Ron and ask the question slightly differently. And that is, what is the why for you in Colorado Para?
Thank you, Coach. Hank and I talked about this quite a bit, and your lead into the conversation was really an important one, I think, for the why in terms of it relates to me and how we think about this. Is we've had a website that's scaled responsive to web or a programmer term, that basically your site would scale to the size of a phone or a mobile device, but it wasn't intuitive and native to that device. And what that, it's fine, but it's not what the experience of your membership is getting in any other interaction. And you mentioned it with financial institutions. I would broaden it to any interaction that they're having in which they as a customer want to interact with you. Pick whether you're selling shoes or doing financial institutions. There's an expectation set now in this world, Apple with the explosion of the mobile devices, that apps have a look and feel to them. And if we're not where the members are, right? Why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. Then we need to be where the members are. And where they are and what they expect from us should be comparable to any other experience that they have. And that to me is the drive to bringing them to this, bringing our systems to where they are. And then you can begin to leverage that later. And we'll have a conversation, I think, a little later on about how we would then want to leverage that. But that's the first step. Is it needs to be a smooth, easy process that is like every other interaction they have with any other institution in which they are the customer. And that is in effect what they are. They are customers to their pension system, and we need to be comparable to what they're seeing in any other industry.
I've been talking about mobile apps since 2016, so a little bit after Scott did. But Ron, it was one of a recent conversation you and I had where you did this, right? And said, I've stolen your line, so I want to give you credit. Do you remember what you said when you did this?
My web cases of Van Halen thing? What did I say?
Well, you said if we're not on this platform, then we're dinosaurs. We're irrelevant. Yeah, and that's what struck home for me in that conversation we had. Sandeep, so let's step back a little bit, right? So let's level set. We've thrown around a number of different terminologies. We've talked about mobile app. We've talked about digital access. Why don't you can you level set for us? From your standpoint as a chief technology officer of a company that does a lot of business with public sector pension plans, but more importantly, from your client's standpoint, what does digital access mean?
Sure. I mean, as Ron said, and I'll just carry on from where he left. In today's world, I mean, the expectations are your members have a certain expectation. I mean, given that they interact with so many other apps, so many other institutions and organizations, they have an expectation to see you in the same space. But if I just summarize it in a very simplistic way, I think the top 5 things that are important or that people expect today are 1, self-registration, ability to themselves register rather than calling somebody or visiting an office, being able to reset their passwords very easily and manage their accounts online through a mobile app, pension in a paperless pension management, ability to see their estimates, their beneficiaries or their account details online rather than calling somebody or asking for a report, and active member education, access to videos, access to information, access to tools online through their phone, through their mobile devices, and lastly, I would say customized support tools. I mean, ease of ability for them to upload a file, upload a form that they need to send to you, or even just make an appointment, right? So what they're expecting, so these 5 I would say are the top 5 things that people expect a mobile service to have. And public pension systems to provide. Yeah.
So Scott, Sandeep, thank you very much for sort of level setting and defining what the 5 sort of parameters are. Given what Sandeep said, Scott, now what are your goals regarding implementation, and how long has Samsara been up and running?
Our goals were really that we wanted to put more tools in our members' hands, and Sandy just he mentioned those things that the members want to do. So we wanted to make the tools available, but we wanted to make them easy to use too. So it had to be really intuitive. And when you look at our app now, I think maybe Sandeep has a little mock-up of it. It's really inviting. You open it up and you just start navigating it, and it's just intuitive. Oh, I want a member statement. I want to do an estimate. So you can do, and it's very easy to navigate through that. And once it's easy and you get your members kind of hooked and they know that they can get that information, then you can start adding more and more things to it, in the future.
And so how long has it been up and running? And
well, as I mentioned, we had our previous app that was running, back in, I think, 2017 when we had that going. But when we rolled out the newer version, the PensionX version, that was actually this February. So we've been live since February, and we've been kind of tracking data and making improvements since then.
Okay. And we'll talk a little bit about the data that you're tracking, what you're finding out from it a little bit later. But Ron, let me turn to you. Where are you and Colorado Parrot in terms of sort of this evaluation and journey of digital access?
We're right now in the process of working to build the application with a shot towards a first quarter 2023 implementation. We're really trying to get our hands around Scott say, stripping down to what the members really need. We created our website. We've had one up for years. I can say it's responsive. And as an industry, we tend to want to take people from pension kindergarten to pension PhDs, realizing that's not what they are. They're our client in which they're going through a journey. So our website is full of information that would turn you into a back-end benefits counselor if you want to be one. We'll show you a lot of detail. And so as we start thinking about what the mobile app should be, it really needs to answer, to me, Scott said, some simple questions and be really bone simple to use. So stripping ourselves down to when can I get my benefit and how much will my benefit be are the two main questions. And how do I interact with you in a way that allows me to update information with you moving forward? So we're in that process right now of sort of peeling down what we currently have into something that is far more useful in a digital format than in a sort of full-on, we created our own back-end systems and made them look like web pages, and expect our members to come along that journey with us. So that's where we are right now, targeting with a first quarter 2023 implementation.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, Ron, that, you've talked about sort of this cultural shift, and that with mobile applications, bringing, the whole, from A to Z of public pensions, it's not necessarily how people consume it on the digital platform.
Agreed. And we just, I think, industry-wide, making that pivot that people want, it needs to be tailored to them, right? We are very good as an industry to broad swing that if you're a new member, you're the same new member as you have a 25-year-old new member, you have a 44-year-old new member, you have somebody coming late into public service. Their expectations are different. We know that we can get down to the individual person and really start to begin to have that experience be what they expect it to be everywhere else. You really, when you go on to any other institution, you get an experience that is tailored to you. We can do the same kind of thing in terms of what they need to know because we understand it better than they do, and give it to them in small bites, not expecting them to find it. You can educate in small areas. Again, we tend to give them, hey, if you want to answer a question, we'll let you. My benefits officer has a better way of phrasing it. People ask you what time it is, and we have the tendency to show you how to build a clock. That's the old way. We really need to be able to just answer what time it is. And the person will come back later and ask the time again. We don't have to show them how to build their own clock. And that is the model that as an industry, we need to pivot to.
Yeah, that's apt analogy. Sandeep, so you framed out sort of the 5 areas of what digital access is. Can you tease that out for us a little bit?
Let me use a few slides to kind of walk through some of that. So if you can see my screen. So these are the 5 things that that I was talking about. So starting with guided registration, self-service onboarding, password assistance, paperless management, active education tools, and proactive support. So I'll jump deeper into some of these. So with guided registration, it's really about helping, giving them the ability to do it themselves and not having to rely on an officer or a call center or visiting an office to do that. So what really it means is it provides effortless access to self-service tools for the members. And I'm showing you a Samsara app, so using them as an example here. So what it does is for Samsara, or for you as an administrator, it reduces significantly the time that you spend on these efforts, and it results in a significant increase in time saving, and at the same time it makes the members happier. So it's a win-win for both. Second point was built-in password and login assistance, ability to unlock password confusion. The interesting thing that we saw working with a number of pension systems is almost 62% of issues that were handled by agents were involving password reset. So that is it's a huge overload on the call centers and your customer service people. Paperless pension management. Again, this could members expect to be able to see a lot of information on their fingertips through their apps, through their mobile devices. And what we found is generally this is really the breakup, the 5 things that within a self-service tool that members are looking at. I mean, they want to know what the payment dates are. They want to know their retirement estimates. managing their beneficiaries, secure managing messaging, and also uploading documents and reviewing documents they've submitted in the past. So what we've done here is that through our tool, we make it easy for the members to manage their beneficiaries, as an example. So they can add a new beneficiary, they can upload the documents related to that through this online tool, and it makes and this is integrated to your backend system. Whether again, it's backend system PAS agnostic, so it can link to the system as long as there is an API. So you don't really need to change your backend system. This is a front end to it, which makes it easy for members to access and to do these things online. And as you can see here, you can click on that and you can go in there and you can add a new beneficiary online and then assign the allocations and so on. Whatever the rules that your pension systems have, you could do that using an app. And this is the kind of thing that members are interested in the services. Next is ability to upload documents and review documents. And again, one of the things that they're looking for is ease of ability to send documents in a secure way to the pension systems without having to mail them or walk into an office or send them by email, which is not secure. So this is something which members really are looking for. Again, this provides an ease of ability for them to upload a document and specify what type of document, and then scan it or take a picture with their phone and send it. And it goes through a secure channel and it's received by the pension system through a secure way. The next thing is member education tools, which I touched upon earlier. So again, what they're looking for is really an ease of ability for to view their estimates, and again, these could be customized estimates depending on what their what their retirement date would be, and again, the system would automatically calculate based on their existing and their history and their salary and other parameters that go into there. And what it saves now, traditionally, this is something that members either write in for or call in or visit, and the customer service or the benefits officers spend hours to calculate and prepare these reports. So this not only provides better service for the members, but saves a lot of hours for the various benefits officers. And this is something which is very much liked by some of the younger members. And again, the experience that they have using financial apps, using banking apps and broking apps, they it gives them a lot of similar tools where they can do some projections and estimates based on changing the parameters and online calculators and so on. And we see a lot of this in real estate as an example. And again, these are detailed estimates. So it can start with the basic estimates and then some other detailed estimates, pre-configured estimates or saved estimates or other things, and history of estimates that can be provided. So what it does is also, a lot of you guys have online webinars or seminars or videos. Again, those could be accessed through an app, and members look for that kind of information, expect to have that kind of information available through a mobile app. Again, financial planning classes, if there are any, how-to videos, webinars, pre-recorded videos, and so on. And the last thing is personalized tools. And again, ease of these are FAQs, and again, people are so used to FAQs on the various devices that they use. A lot of times, these questions can answer things that they might be looking for or things that they might be planning to call in for. So ability to find these answers themselves using these online tools would be a great help for members. And these could be simple things, or they can even ask a question here if it's not there, and then send in, use this for secure messaging. So ability to send a message, again, two ways, for them to send you a message and for you to send them a message through a push notification, which again, people are so used to these days with the various mobile devices and applications that they have. And ability to look at all their messages that they receive from you in a consolidated view, rather than looking through or searching for them through emails and so on. And lastly, appointment scheduling. One of the things that this can help is allow them to easily schedule an appointment with you rather than calling and then trying to figure out what's the best availability. And again, this is a tool which many financial apps and institutions have already have. So again, it's an expectation that members have that they can easily schedule an appointment with you using a mobile device. So again, these are some of the things that to kind of elaborate on the points that I mentioned. And this is what we found through our through working with a number of public pension systems. And as Ron said, I mean, the idea is to provide only what's really important. And of course, you have the website, which has everything, but the mobile app should be a very focused application, which allows them things at their fingertips that they would generally be looking for. And the idea is to not just provide a higher level of service, which they expect these days, but also save a lot of time for the benefits officers and the customer service officers. It's kind of a win-win. And that's really the balance I think should be struck.
Thank you, Sandeep. That was great. Helped us sort of visualize what the elements are. Just a quick follow-up question for you. Obviously, you have a number of public plan clients. Some of them like Scott's plan, which are mid-market, around 6 billion or so. Right, Scott? That was your AUM, right? And then there are like the Colorado PensionX of the world who have like hundreds of thousands of participants and tens of billions of dollars. In terms of implementation from yours, and is there a significant difference between, say, a mid-market plan and a large market plan like Samsara versus Colorado PensionX?
From a technical perspective, I would say there's not that much of a difference. I mean, it's the same technology. And again, we make sure that whether it's for a small system or a large, it's secure, it's stable, it's robust, it's scalable. So all those things are there. But again, from an implementation perspective and from a planning perspective, obviously, it can take a bit longer managing the communications and making sure the migration and the customer experience is smooth when it's implemented. So that generally takes a bit longer with larger organizations to make sure some of the internal processes and internal communications are also done and everybody's on board before the switch happens.
And Scott, Ron, Sandeep touched upon it, but I'm curious how you guys are addressing it. Security, right? Obviously, cybersecurity is top of mind for a lot of people. Are you getting any questions from participants about security, and how are you guys addressing it internally relative to mobile app?
Scott, go first.
So we are obviously concerned about security. We've had a couple of attempts, people trying to take someone else's identity, and of course we've reported them to the authorities. But that is it is a big concern. What we do find, we do testing, with third parties, just to the penetration with our line of business, and also to see if they can get in through our app and then ultimately through our portal as well. So we do that, but the app does provide additional security. As Sandeep mentioned, if you want to upload a document, it's much more secure doing it through your app than it is to send it to us through email, and we much prefer that. And of course the portal will be just as secure. So a concern for us that we're addressing, and always constantly addressing.
Sure.
I think there's that balance that exists between ease of use and security, right? You can opening your door with a key is a little bit slower than just walking right in the door. But I think the fact that we are mirroring this with the applications the same way that the banking industry does, right? We're in effect laying over the top to back end systems the ability to have the app do things that are coming through secure API calls and get into the details over the top of it. So we are not really doing anything different than is being done in the financial institution. Now, we all have to take that level of security seriously. And I think that is a cultural shift again for some of our membership and maybe some board members of going, oh my gosh, realizing that at the end of the day, it is inherent in you that the app will be secure. It's going to run through a secure API call. And then your back-end systems need to be secure. So you can't fall asleep to it, but it is not something that you can be so afraid of that you can't open up the ability to move it. The example I use is You can certainly stop shoplifting by not opening the store. It does kill profits. So at a certain point, you just have to put security to it and put some risk boundaries around what you're doing and be diligent. But this is just another way to access information, whether you were doing it through your own website, through our responsive app, or doing it through this native to the device app. You can secure it, but you can't, like say, fall asleep on the fact that you need to do so.
Yeah, yeah. So Scott, let me go back to you again. Samsara, the newest iteration of the mobile app, it came online earlier this year. Tell us a little bit more about it. What are the features that your participants are utilizing the most? What are your next add-ons? Are you following it, tracking any metrics? And if so, what is that telling you and your staff about the platform?
Okay, well, Sandeep did a great job of actually going through our app. And so we use all those features that he pointed out. Probably the most used feature for our active members is the estimator. And I don't know if you saw it in there, but you can actually do two types of estimates. So for example, when I open up my app, I say, let me do an estimate. The first page, it gives me an estimate if I'm retiring today. Not that it's intuitive or knows what's going on, but it'll tell you what your estimate is. Then you can use a slider bar. You can adjust your salary. You can change your entry or your retirement age. Do a few other things, to get just a quick estimate, and that just gives you the unmodified amount. Then you can do a more detailed estimate. If you just click on that, then you can set a few more parameters. But the beauty of the way this works is this actually creates an estimate as if one of our counselors did it. And then it actually gets saved to your profile and to your data, so that you can always go back and look at that estimate. And then if you call in and want to talk to somebody, our counselor can refer to the estimate you just created based on your parameters. So that's a really nice feature, probably the most used by our active members. One of the other features our active members use, at least up until recently, was they wanted to get member statements. A lot of them were doing banking, wanting to get loans, so they want to show what kind of account balance that they had to be able to show to financial institutions. That was a popular request by our members. For retirees, of course, they always want to know what they're getting paid and when they're getting paid. So they want to look at what their payment advice looks like. Also popular around the season are 1099s. So through our line of business, when we create the 1099s, we put them into PDF so that they can access it as a document and see it and download it whenever they want it. Retirees also active in the financial world are interested in getting verification of income memos, something that we do for them. We normally generate a memo based on their request, but they can do that themselves based on what their monthly pension is. They can create that and provide that to their financial institutions. If we were, some of the other things we do, and Sandeep didn't show this, but when we do, if a member wants to change their beneficiary, we can we've integrated DocuSign in there. So you can, so that's one of the features that we can do, and that can be added to any other of the documents that we have members do. Of course, they can upload documents. Probably one of the most important things we found is that we have an in-app comment or feedback section. So as you're in the app, it's so intuitive, you just hit the little question mark and you could just type whatever your comments are, or something that you like, or something you don't like, or something else you want to add. So that's probably the most used metric that we get is what, if a member takes time to say something about it, then we'll take that to heart as, having, 10 times the effect because they thought enough to write about it. So probably there's a couple of things we were looking at if we were going to do some improvements, and my benefit staff said, don't say the number one request we have is to change password or password help. It's pretty popular. And unfortunately, the way we set it up is that we had our members set up what their security questions were. And then a lot of them don't remember the answers to their security questions. So they end up, and so the next thing we're going to be looking at is two-factor authentication, which I think a lot of financial systems have. And I think that will probably be the next thing that we do to kind of take some burden off the staff, but then, stop the frustration level, because, it's kind of frustrating. You tried all your answers and now you got to make a phone call. There's nothing else you can do. So I think if we go with the 2FA, it'll be a win-win for everybody. One of the other things that we're looking at always wanted to stay away from allowing members to apply for retirement, essentially remotely or online. Well, thanks to COVID, we've actually had to go through the process without actually seeing members. So we're coming off of our adamance that were insistence that we're not going to take anything online. So we're going to start looking at ways to maybe take the retirement application online with some consideration. So that's some of the things that we're looking at doing. So you did ask about metrics, and I'll say this: we do track metrics, but since we've already had an app, we weren't really interested in looking at some of the data. And then we didn't, as we knew we were coming to a new data or a new app, new version, we didn't, necessarily want to push people to the old app, just knowing that a new one was coming out. So we didn't really track it. So we're collecting data. And I think once our portal goes live, which should be in the next month or two, then we'll start looking at that and see what it is that we can do. So we have cumulative data, so I can, see how the average length of time somebody spends, in the app, or, where they're, logging in from, so that kind of thing. But we'll fine tune that and maybe tweak what it is, the data that we're getting, so that we can make it useful to us. But right now we haven't, other than, looking at what documents they're uploading or what their comments they're making, that's pretty much the extent of what we're using it for right now, but more to come in the future.
And Scott, either through like individual anecdotal comments from participants or something else, what's been the general sense of the relaunch or the refresh of the app in earlier this year? Do you get the sense participants are satisfied and happy with the new platform?
Yes, they're very happy. They're saying this is much improvement. In fact, our former retirement administrator took the time out of his retirement to send me quick notes. Said, "This is great," and I really love it. So
awesome. So Sandeep, let me turn to you. So yesterday in Plan Sponsor magazine, or I guess an online version of it, they published a story about the dissatisfaction of participants with their retirement plan's digital experience. Some of the findings of the article included that participants feel financial health is deteriorating and many are concerned about their investments, but when they turn to their plan's website or app for help, they're not finding what they need. Customer satisfaction with retirement plan digital experience rises when participants can complete tasks by themselves. However, just 37% of participants said they can manage their accounts digitally without contacting customer service. And overall customer satisfaction rises when customers believe the retirement plan website or app offers proactive guidance and help. But just 22% of plans evaluated are meeting this performance indicator. Now, this article is largely about private sector defined contribution / 401k, app and web access. But what could public plans learn? Like, what are the lessons learned from this sort of dissatisfaction in the private sector?
I think it's the kind of statistics that it mentions and the points it mentions are really in line with what we are talking today. As we just talked about, members expect more online tools for them to be able to do these services themselves. That's generally the expectation. And this specific article, it talks about the private sector, which, as you mentioned earlier, is already probably 10 years ahead of us. So they are seeing these as well. So obviously these apply even more, I would say, to the public sector, where we are probably even further behind than them in addressing these. But in terms of the expectations, I think it's almost similar. I mean, people expect a similar service from a public, a pension system. And yeah, I mean, it's all about, providing them online ability to manage their own things and do things themselves and do an online education and find resources themselves. That's what people are expecting these days from most institutions.
Ron, Scott, do you have any reactions to that article?
Yeah, I do. I certainly think that it's interesting because I think it's a twofold problem, and it sort of plays itself out in the numbers slightly differently. I agree. A big part of it is people's dissatisfaction is just your ability to do something yourself. I want to do it and I want to do it myself. Now, what that something might be is certainly it can be a question. And if you take, updating from DB side, it's not a lot that you're going to be able to move around. It is a fairly static thing. So we ought to be able to win that day in a much better place in terms of what you can or cannot do. The other side of the equation, I think, is the one that is really a problem that we have an advantage on, or is the DC world has people that the end goal is, I want education because I have to get a pot of money. So everything's about turning me into an investor and learning how to grow a pot of money. And so that sort of, reading that article, that I need more tools to help me be a thing, which is something we don't necessarily have to do, where unless we have a DC sitting around over the top of it. We're in a great place that we're not like, we have this weird industry in which we've put people in this position of, you need to figure out how to do it. Medicine doesn't do this. We sure as heck don't tell people, read a book like a doctor does and do some surgery on your own. But man, the DC world has taught people, you can be an investor too. But with now give me all the tools, we're not even knowing what to ask for. So I think part of that question is, I'm dissatisfied because there aren't enough tools to help me do something I don't know how to do anyway, is a different problem to solve. But the frictionless ability to, when you need to do something, can I do what I want, screams out of that article that people want the ability to not have to contact if they don't need to. They would like to handle it themselves in things that they understand that they need to do. And then you can take the tools and move them forward. We have an opportunity as an industry through these apps through push notifications, to move people along this process that they don't realize we're moving. And we can use the data, the metrics that Scott's talking about that you can get from the system to start to watch how people vote with their feet and what they're doing and what you might be able to pull from them. We talked earlier about people's expectations before the call about how, we used to get on Zoom calls a half hour before and just to make sure it was right. Now we all sort of real comfortable with it. That pivot, we've moved light years in terms of our expectation set as a society, and that ability to move people down that road. We as public pension systems have a lot of data. We can use a lot of what we know about people to do the very thing that we're being asked to do. And I think that's just an opportunity. That article says people want help. They don't know what help they want. The DC world has put them in a heck of a spot. We have a DC plan as well, additional savings. It's going to be a part of our future, no doubt. But the expectation is we got to move them along in a way that is not trying to turn them into something they'll never be. And we got to, again, take them. And this gives us the chance. Once we've got them, we can push notify, we can move them in the same way that any other industry moves you towards what you want or they want you to do. We don't have a profit layer. We're not trying to upsell you. We simply are trying to provide retirement security as the widget that the public workforce has been given by our plan sponsors. The world's open to us to do this in a way that is so unique and not trying to upsell a soul, simply trying to get them to the place that we need to get to. And I'm pretty, again, that just jumps out. It's a great article to say, this is why you need to be here. Because once you're here, you're where everybody else is. That point, you're a dinosaur if you're not here. Now that we got you here, what do we do with you to get you to the goal that we have for you, which is a pure one from the perspective of we're not selling you a thing. We're providing service.
Scott, any reactions or comments?
Yeah, I would say that maybe the overall economic financial outlook may have cast a pall on the poll. So if I was managing my own 401k investment, like a lot of the respondents, are, and I'm noticing my 401k balance declining, and I've got to make investment choices. Of course, I'd be under a lot of stress. And I'd be really interested to see if they separated, the plan of DC members, DB members, but that would probably be a little bit different on their outlook or how they felt about it. But I think the one thing that comes through, and I think Ron pointed this out and Sandeep as well, the more tools that a member has, the more satisfied they're going to be able to, if they can do things successfully themselves. If they can, whether it is make a particular investment, which you don't have to worry about in the DB plan, but if you want to, do a planning session to say, what's my retirement, benefit going to look like on this day, or change my beneficiary. If you can do those things, I think you have a lot more confidence in the institution that, that has your money. So.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, we are near the end of our session. So Lawana, before we transition over to questions, let me give you each of you a moment for any closing thoughts or recommendations. So let me do it in reverse alphabetical order since we started with introductions in regular alphabetical order. So Sandeep, what advice or closing comments do you have for folks who might be listening in today?
What I would say is the expectations of the members are rising, as we heard from everybody here, and the article also talks about it. I think you as leaders in your organizations have a great opportunity to use technology and to transform the business, to deliver to the members what and exceed their expectations. So I think it's a very interesting moment that we are at, where technology provides you with the tools, with the ammunition to kind of transform and take the digital leap. And I would encourage all of you to do that.
Great, thank you, Sandeep. Scott?
I would kind of offer it as maybe more advice to any system that's, we're planning on implementing an app. And it's probably a combination of, getting the right, I mean, you maybe already have your vendor, your line of business, but if you want to add an app that maybe your current vendor doesn't provide, you got to find the right partner. And so not only will you have a partnership with your continuing line of business partner, but now this new app vendor. And then those folks have to play nice. So you have to be the broker between getting the API so that they can do the function. That relationship is worth its weight in gold. But also in preparation for doing something like this, don't forget about your staff. And I mentioned I have a lean staff, but those are the folks that are getting the feedback. They're part of the process for testing and developing, and that becomes a burden on them as well. So plan for that, take care of them, because they're your source of information to make this work right. Also, if they can get some folks to help with testing, like retirees or deferred members or even other active members that are a little bit farther away from the process, but can provide some input while they're checking to see how it works. And the last thing, make sure you put a feedback button in the app.
Thanks, Scott. Ron?
Add on to what Scott's saying, it becomes part of, I would think, as you're doing the app, is one aspect of how you think about how you're interacting with your membership. And you don't want to be, the non-dinosaur here, but on the back end, you are basically still a dinosaur on the back end. And it really needs to become, as you're thinking about doing these, what are we trying to accomplish with the membership? Knowing you're going to pay benefits and do the things that you have to do, but just all of that, as you start thinking about how you market this, right? You can get down to, well, we want a digital app, but we want to send postcards to people to tell them about it. Well, that, you start sending mixed messages about whether or not you are really moving to a space. And that kind of aspect really need to think about long and hard as an institution, as an organization, all of us, as we start moving this direction. It can sound a sour note if you're in one place looking like this, but every other interaction with you looks just like it did before. You're going to overwhelm the good that you're doing. So it's all part of the process that we're all on, I think, to iteratively get to where the members are. We just needed to, again, the pandemic, for all of its horribleness, is move people to a different expectation set in a lot of ways, and we can leverage that.
Great, thank you all. All right, so on to questions. We have 5 questions. First is, what LOP or PAS systems are you using, and do your mobile apps easily integrate?
So yeah, I mean, I can take that a shot at it. So right now with Samsara, with Scott's team, we integrate with Vitek, and the way we've designed the app, it's system agnostic, so it can integrate with any backend system as long as that system has an API, or as long as the the vendor is able to build an API or provide open the APIs for us.
Okay, great. Another question is, if a retirement system has a robust member portal that allows online retirement, benefit estimates, address/bank changes, etc., what is a mobile device that is mobile device compatible? How does an app add further value?
I'll jump onto how I think of it, and certainly it's just one person's opinion. But I think if the app is doing what ours is currently doing, which is responsive, which is saying it is compatible on a mobile app, but it is not native to a mobile app. Some of the items that you don't have that we see in the application is the ability to upload information through taking a picture. There are a lot of things, the biometric aspect of logging into it. There are just a number of things that are native to mobile devices that aren't from a website. So if you kind of take well, it's doing what we have, it's just a little more cumbersome. If cumbersome is okay, my perspective is we could do all of this now. We are actually doing it on the Colorado Parrot website. It's just cumbersome. The more cumbersome you are, you lose the day. If it's not easy, you go somewhere else. Now, the only thing we have for them is they can't go somewhere else. They can't pick up sticks and go, I'll go be in the Washington retirement system because I don't like how Colorado Parrot did it with me today. But we become that thing that is not like the others. And that is, I think the goal is this will evolve. The apps will evolve as the industries that people interact with evolve. The app tools will evolve, and having that evolve with you, if it's not your core business, having a partner that will allow it to move with you allows you to do your business and let the app move along with you versus assuming you know what the member is looking for. It would be my take on that question.
Absolutely. And if you can just add to it, I think one of the other benefits is having an app which is separate from your line of business system makes it easy for you to make, react and add more functionality in a faster way. So the time to market increases, reduces, and the risk, reduces. So you're decoupling your, mobile app, the native mobile app with your backend system, and in a way making you more responsive and more agile to the developing needs and helps you in providing a better service.
I would say it also offers options. So people like to do things in different ways. And of course, some things what you can do on your app that you may not be able to do on your on the portal and vice versa. But a lot of people learn things different ways, just like they want to use things different ways. I would much prefer to be on a portal than my phone, but a younger person may want to do everything on their phone. So if you give those options to your members, then they can pick and choose, the way they want to interface with you.
There's another question, Scott. I think it's more towards you. The question is, they're curious about the utilization rate of the mobile app.
It's actually much better than our previous app, and I don't have the data in front of me. One of the things I remember is we're close to like 800 separate instances per month. That's on the average since February, and we kind of did a slow rollout. So that's what our average comes out to be, and that's out of 13,000 members. So that's a kind of a start point. So as we go forward, we can look on a month-to-month basis. But so far, we're happy with it. We're fielding our calls, and I think it's just going to improve from there.
There's another question from the LinkedIn simulcast. In an Amazon and fully serviced wealth and banking world, what are member and employers' expectations? Anybody want to take a crack at that?
So I think from the member and employer and AM is this level of customization that is related to you individually, and best phrase I've heard is frictionless. This ability to have it be a very simple process to move. Again, the Amazon nature of it's real quick to be able to do whatever you want there. You've got a profit motive to make it so. But I think that becomes the expectation. And we exist broadly as, I always phrase it, the widget that at least on our end, that state of Colorado has put in place for the public workforce. We need to ensure that the employers who we work with, we are not their problem. We are easy to deal with. We help them do the work that they're doing. Our members, again, same thing. We provide a service. So that's what I think is the end goal, is what they're looking for is tailored to me and easy to do.
Great. Another question is, what are common marketing strategies for the app?
There's a couple things that we've done. For actually, when we rolled it out, we selected a certain group of email addresses to essentially notify them of the app. And then eventually we added more and more till we got 100% saturation of, based on the email addresses that we had. And then also we put it on our website. So we're not doing postcards, but we'll put it in our newsletter, and any other way that we communicate with our members, so they know that the app is out there.
Right. And then there are a couple of questions that I'll just reiterate for folks. The questions were asking about access to Sandeep's slide deck, as well as the ability to view and share the recording of this webinar. The short answers are yes, Sandeep's slide deck is available for view and download on our website, as well as the recording of this webinar. It is in our resources section of the NCPERS website, and it is available for all our members, and it's not behind the password protection, so non-members can view it as well. So at this point, I think we've addressed all the questions there are. So let me conclude by thanking everyone for joining in. And in particular, let me thank our panelists today, Ron Baker, Scott Hood, and Sandeep Mehta. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.